Hi, my people. Thank you again for tuning in today, February 6th, 2024. I'm going to do a little bit something different today. I actually, on one of my other playlists, it's called Book Excerpts, and I may put this over there as well. I do this. I read passages from books. The ones over there are specific to veterans. I think I do read a little bit of Power of Oneness, one of my favorite books, and that I utilize. So, but it's not that list over there is short. But I do definitely want to read to you more. So this is one of my favorite books that I utilize in my different coaching stuff, and just different things that I share because it's just so powerful. It's by Sandra Brossman, and it's called The Power of Oneness. Live the life you choose. And I do highly recommend it for those of you that still do like reading, or I don't know if this is something on Audible. So this is the reason this came up today. It's kind of a constant thing with me, this love talking about it, we as humans hunting for it, all these sorts of things that when I go into explaining it, I understand for those of you who haven't learned it yet, it can sound really confusing. I myself was confused too. I don't actually know that I knew what unconditionally loving meant. But as time has gone on and I've realized I've actually always been like this, so I didn't really, for me, I didn't just really even understand it. So probably I didn't understand the term, but I also didn't understand that there was conditional love. And that's basically, I'm going to go into it more. Conditional is basically like, I only love you if, or I only love you when XYZ. So I never could relate to that because I just love just no matter what. And so this came up again for what I want to talk about is that I will mention a new friend of mine. He's basically an airline pilot and has traveled, I don't even know for how many years he's been in his career. He's going to retire, he said, in 5 years. But we were talking, I was asking him, and I may post a video on it. I was asking him if he likes to be single. And basically it went into deeper and deeper talking about I don't know to say finding love, but it was the topic of eventually he will probably find somebody, right? Eventually. And so I confirmed it with if he wants it, right? So to be brief on the whole, looking for love, culturally, this may not be you, but culturally, it has always been shown to a lot of us that it is something that's what almost life is about, or the focal point, right? Finding somebody. And when you find somebody, all of your problems are solved, or at least most of them are, right? Because who doesn't want love? Okay, so to be able to explain it to you is that I'm going to read to you from another book about the hunting for love aspect, but trying to explain that it's already inside of ourselves, because that already sounds annoying in my mind, especially when you're coming from a place like, I just want to find somebody. So when I ask people, what do you want it for? Which I would be confused too. Back in the day, had somebody asked me that, oh, I just want to be loved. Like, I just want to find somebody, right? Okay, so it's like a switch. You have to switch and reprogram when you look at the reasons that you want it, because sometimes, a lot of times, it does not fulfill what you thought. Okay, based on what I just said, either you think it's going to solve everything, you think you're going to just be happy in general, overall. Now I have everything concept, right? I have the person, I have the money and the job and the things. Okay, so this is kind of new knowledge to some people, right? Some people do not learn this at all. Some people learn it later in life. So I was talking about this new friend of mine, Buddy, about one of the reasons he has possibly not met anybody yet is because he has also not found somebody that helps him feel unconditionally loved. Because that, I feel like, is a huge component of maybe why we are questioning or seeking or this is the one or whatever it is, because maybe you have things in common. Maybe it's just, whatever it is, there's lots of people we can get along with, but that whole unconditionally loving part is really rare. Okay, so what I want to explain to you first, because read to you from this book, it's a little bit long, so I hope it keeps your attention, and I'll try to talk kind of slowly. It's page 83, and it actually starts with what is conditional love. So what is this? Chapter 4, the perspective of oneness. Oh, I'm sorry. There is 79. It starts with unconditional love. I thought that was weird. Okay, so I may break this up if my mouth gets too dried up and I can't continue on. Maybe I'll break up and just do this one as unconditional and the next one, or take a little mini pause or something like that. But okay, so this is page 79, which I love it that this segment also just right before it says, is spirituality the same thing as religion, and explains it really well. And I talk about that in defining your own sense of God, or who God is God to you. That's on one of my playlists too, okay? So page 79, what is unconditional love? Unconditional love is not something that happens to us or outside of us. It is the life force of energy within our very being and is ingrained in every cell of our bodies. We don't have to search for love. We are, each one of us, the physical embodiment of unconditional love. When we remember that we are created in love, our earthly perceptions of seeing man as an inconsequential speck within the universe give way to the infinite spiritual truth. We are, each one of us, the ultimate expression of creation. It is formless, infinite, constantly in motion, and limitless. It is neutral, all-forgiving, knows no judgment, and is available to everyone without discernment, and there's absolutely nothing we need to do to qualify for it. Okay, got it? It has a positive effect on both the biological, physical plane and spiritual, metaphysical plane, creating truth, joy, beauty, health, harmony. Okay, so it goes on, when we open our hearts and rising above fear, and no matter how dark and chaotic our lives may be, we can always find comfort in knowing that our earthly world is always held by this infinite larger context of universal love and light. Okay, I know that is deep. And this is why I also talk about how it's very healing. And also in here, she explains about how vibration and the vibration that can come from emitting love and being of love. Okay, so I'm not going to read to you that entire part. It just talks about being of love. Okay, then the second part, page 83, what is conditional love? It is not the same thing as unconditional love of spirit. It is neutral. Unconditional love is neutral and all-encompassing, whereas conditional love generally focuses on particular people. When we love someone in a conditional way, right, partner, spouse, etc., children, we try to fulfill our emotional needs by directly or indirectly manipulating them to conform to our way of thinking, rather than accepting people as they are. We tend to want them to look, act, and think in ways that fit our own paradigms and expectations. When we think of love in the physical sense, we may think of warm feelings we have towards the people we like, or the passionate feelings when we meet somebody that we have this chemistry, the term falling in love, indicating that we sometimes lose ourselves when we are involved in a romantic relationship based on conditional love. Is probably because we are looking for another person to complete us rather than looking to share our whole self, right? I talked about that a little bit. This whole cultural thing to either, there's so many different reasons, right? To either complete us as if we feel like, we are not whole. Or, maybe you just don't want to be alone. Like there's so many different things, but it's just, again, I'm going back to the focus. Again, focus on thinking that the person is the answer. When we love in a conditional way, we try to make ourselves whole by working to make others the way we want them to be instead of working on ourselves to become more of who we are. If we are in the habit of loving in a conditional way, we are also likely to try to fix other people's problems by telling them what to do or even doing it for them. We become too involved, and we actually compound someone else's difficulties by superimposing ourselves into their dilemma, and we actually take on their emotional issues. Yes, I've done that. When we love conditionally, we hold others accountable to our expectations in order to qualify for our affection. If they act the way we want them to, we express our approval. If they act contrary to that, we withhold our expression or acceptance of them, usually in the form of anger. This is a good part to talk about how people use sex with each other, to like depriving them of sex or denying of them. Just wanted to include that in there. This type of thinking, and some people do it I'm talking about in a purposeful way, like people actually doing it on purpose is very upsetting. Okay, I'm right and you are wrong is basically this type of thinking and this perspective of separation. Okay, I am right and you are wrong, so I think you should see things my way. As soon as we begin to judge someone as being right or wrong, it is our cue that we are not in a space of unconditional love because we are perceiving that we are the authority for somebody else's life. Although we may think we pass judgment on others for the right reasons, conditional love inevitably results in a power play for everyone involved because it focuses on control, which typically elicits a defensive reaction from the people whom we are trying to change. Okay, this typically perpetuates an emotionally destructive environment by eroding the foundation of trust. And again, like I just said, or I've talked about it at other times, power struggles with relationships. I think the more you love someone, the more, well, you kind of have to, I don't want to say have to be accepting of their ways. I think it's, yeah, I might say it like that. The more I love you, the more I have to accept you. I want to accept you, because I want to accept and love all of you. Maybe I don't agree with those certain things, but I'm still going to love you regardless. So that's why relationships can be challenging, because it's like a push-pull. So the dynamics can just be really interesting depending on the couple. And maybe some couples don't generally have a whole lot of problems, but I don't know. I think that's maybe the rarity. Depends on the problems, right? So one of the most effective ways to open ourselves to unconditional love is to release our judgment of others. Many of us feel defensive about this statement because we say we have to make many judgments in life. Of course we do, but perhaps we have forgotten the true meaning of the verb judge is to form an estimate or evaluation about something, to gather information, conclude, or deduce. It is important that we remember that judge does not mean to criticize, nor does it mean that we are sanctioned to judge another human being's value as a person or to tell others how to live their lives. The energy of the intentions we project through our thoughts, words, and actions is exactly the energy we attract. When we hurt others, we are not working in harmony with the energy of universal love, and we're hurting ourselves, right, too. So the bottom line is, when we practice conditional love, we are looking for others to make us feel complete. This proves to be unproductive because in order to feel whole, we have to first love ourselves. Of course, she goes into talking about that. And why do we have to love ourselves first? I'm not going to read the entire section, so you can pursue this more for your own. I'm just basically in my book excerpts, just trying to pick kind of things here and there, but in any book that I'm reading of, but I go back and re I just go back and reread things and pick apart. And sometimes I just think of it, I have a way different perspective on it the second time. Okay, so page 85, I'll just read to you just a couple little pieces right here. Why do we have to love ourselves in order to love someone else unconditionally? Excuse me. We have to basically treat ourselves in the same way. The most basic human need we all have from the time we are born is to be accepted for who we truly are, including our imperfections. If we do not address our own need to be loved unconditionally, how can we give to others that which we cannot give to ourselves? If we want to find this kind of acceptance in our outer world, we need to first discover it within our own personal world. And trying to express our love without being open to receiving the love of spirit is like exhaling without inhaling. We can't do it without emotionally suffocating. Okay, and she goes on and on. Receiving energy is not the same idea as taking it. It means opening our hearts and mind to the limitless unconditional love, and okay, etc., etc. So to end this episode, what I wanted to say is, if you are not at this place right now, it is okay. This personal growth stuff does take effort and work. I've mentioned this before, podcasts, books, different sorts of material. I think also, though, I don't want to say it's the easiest way, but it's one way, is that surrounding yourself with somebody, even if it is, right, is it remotely, finding somebody that you connect with that can kind of just be, right? Just be a presence in your life to kind of show you what this is, because that is a challenging feat for people to release control of wanting to control someone else. Okay, jealousy. So these sorts of things, sometimes I still don't know that I want to say jealousy is an innate nature. I really think, again, it's a programmed thing of just what we've been taught. Again, possessiveness and owning things. And I just feel like back then, when I look at myself feeling like that, even in friendships and like not wanting to share, like I knew that that wasn't a good or a positive thing. I've said before, like I feel like I was being a jerk. um I don't know, I just feel like, yeah, right, this like such jerk mentality. And so I don't remember exactly or when that like switch went. I may even, again, like I said, I acknowledged it, but I didn't really know how to change it. And it's one of those things you just have to let time evolve, and or you just have to accept it. I talked about this before. If you're uh, what do you call it? If you're dating somebody in certain industries that have a lot of, if you want to call it temptation, right? Um, I don't know. Males and females can just have a visual temptation, not necessarily an emotional one. But all these types of industries, right? Bartender, tattoo artist, trainer, of course, stripper, first responder, getting that kind of attention and things like that. Um, Now I'm going off kind of out of the subject here and I'm going to get us lost, but temptations and sharing and all this sort of stuff. So I think once you learn, number one, it's a jerk attitude and it's a mindset, and being very selfish, just logically think about it already, how dumb that is. um it might be a little bit easier for you to kind of grow out of it, right? And so having your other things for yourself, including other friends, keeping yourself busy, you know? So there's lots of things I can advise on that sort of a situation, because I have felt it on different levels. Mostly though, I think it's really been in like I don't know, I guess my female friends, the couple of female friends I've had in life when I was younger. It was really more so when I was younger. Anyway, okay, well, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you were able to follow me with my readings here, but I understand the more maybe you're listening to me, how a lot of this stuff can kind of sound really confusing and complicated. This is what makes things complicated. And like I said, when I started really diving deep into a lot of this stuff, I was confused too. Just like with the question, if somebody had asked me, like, what do you want it for? Like, why would you want a relationship, or why would you want this and this? And I'm not here to talk bad about any of it. It's just understanding, like, literally, what do you want it for? Nowadays, people, as far as like, okay, maybe back then somebody would have said, "Oh, well, I want kids and I want family and I want this and that, whatever." But then once you start diving deep into really like psychoanalyzing and finding out reasons, I mean, I've heard stories from even just people saying, okay, they just met the person to have the kid. Like, that was the reason. Or all the other kinds of reasons that people get together. It wasn't even for love. So, I mean, the whole like, you don't want to be alone, or um, you want to ensure somebody's going to be there forever. Like, I think we just want to feel secure in love and just knowing somebody's going to be there no matter what. And you don't have to be married to them, and you don't have to like any of that to feel like that. But we want to feel, I think that, I mean, that's part of the life journey process, the soul wanting to feel connected, and other confusing things like basically returning to source. And uh, it makes you wonder so many things about life, like if this is what we were supposed to find out, like why would it even take you on all of these mind fuck paths? If it's to return to source and be at one and be back in the light. I don't get it. Okay, I will see you next in the next video, and I really hope these sorts of things help you and comfort you on some sort of level, because I don't know, I think we're all secretly intrigued by it because it's something to be found. Love in general, right? But you have to have it inside of yourself first. Okay, talk to you next time. Bye.